The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Cox Communications, connecting Virginians to their government. We're pleased to have one state senator and three members of the House of Delegates with us this morning. Senator Lionel Spruill, good to see you, sir.
Good morning, sir. It's good to be here.
Delegate Don Hester, good to see you.
Good morning.
Delegate Joe Lindsey, nice to see you again, sir.
Yes.
And Delegate Steve Heretick, good to see you.
Hi, Woody. Good to be back.
Senator Spruill, the last time you and I spoke, you were a member of the House of Delegates. How has it been moving to the state Senate?
Honestly, it's been great. I think they work more together, maybe because it's 2019. Then I picked up a different city, it's Norfolk, and that's been great. Now that North is I'm part of the district, I'm learning a lot of things and from these two. And I got the feeling, I went to Europe one time and said, where you from? And I have to say Norfolk, everybody knows Norfolk. Mm-hmm. So we think that Norfolk really is the hub of the Hampton Road, matter of fact, the whole area, I believe. So it's great for me, and the people in Norfolk and Chesapeake have been fine to me. So I try to take cues once in a while, try to learn, get out of the House mode to the Senate mode, and it's been a change for me, and I like it.
Great. Well, Delegate Hester, tell us a little bit about what's happening in Norfolk, especially in terms of the economics there.
Well, we have great opportunities. New businesses are coming in. We have opportunities for our citizens to seek employment at all different levels. We have a great hotel that's opening, the Main, which is a Hilton product. That'll be opening next month as well. And so with the two new businesses downtown bringing hundreds of individuals, that's really making a difference.
Great. And Delegate Lindsey, we know that you serve on the House Education Committee. Talk to us about some of the issues that you've been addressing so far this session.
Well, I'm on the Higher Ed Subcommittee, and so a lot of what we're doing is trying to make sure that we're making college affordable for people. That's the hue and cry. People are just having a disconnect between being able to leave high school and go to college and be able to pay your bills and pay your way through.
And Delegate Heretick, I know education is the foundation of everything. How are the public schools doing in your district, sir?
Well, I think, as always, public education is challenged by funding. And I think one of the big struggles this session, particularly in the House budget, is getting the money back into the education budgets to make sure that those dollars are getting into the classrooms where they belong. I know one of the big challenges that we face this year is sort of the shortfall in state revenue and trying to make up those gaps. And I have to give it to, the House Appropriations Committee and the chair, Chris Jones, for trying to fill those holes with the available dollars we can get. I think it's our responsibility, obviously, to try to give as much money, as many resources to the educational systems as we can, and I know all of us here are committed to doing that.
And Senator Spruill, in terms of the budget, how are we doing with reference to state employee raises?
I hope this time it go through. It was promised last year, I believe, and because the sequestration is the right word for it, yes. The problem we had, so we had to put it back. This time, it will go through because they do, you can help me out down the jury, they do have SS fund in case something happens in September. So this time it should be. It's long overdue, so I wish we could have given more, but at least if we can get that, I think it's 2% or 3%? 2%?
3%.
3%. And then on some levels, on local levels, 2%. So I think it's time for us to do that because in the last 5 years, we've been struggling. So I'm hoping this time we can keep that commitment and give them that 3% raise that we promised them.
And Delegate Hester, that's really important for teachers, I take it.
It's very important. The options that have been given, though, and flexibility on the House budget is that the money will go to the locality and the locality will decide. And so we have to work to make sure that it goes for the raises for the teachers, because many localities did give the 2% this year, last year, and they want to continue that. So we have to make sure that that occurs because our localities are struggling. The school boards are struggling with their budgets, and they have to prioritize. And so we want to make sure that the teachers do get those raises.
And Delegate Lindsey, as a former prosecutor, I'm sure you worked with local law enforcement. Apparently, they haven't had any significant raises for the past few years. And I think they are getting significant raises, the state police and deputy sheriffs. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this has been an unfunded group for some time in the budget, and we're trying to make up for it. You know, we have state police who are leaving the profession, and we've got a real decline in number. So what we're trying to do is supplement the budget so that we can keep these fine people and acquire some others, because people are leaving the profession left and right.
I take it that's important in your district as well, sir?
Well, absolutely, because, I mean, looking at it overall, you know, we're short almost 50 positions in the Virginia State Police. Capitol Police is underfunded. You know, sheriff's deputies, police departments, I mean, they're all frankly underfunded. And, you know, this is one of those budget years that I think we're all working aggressively to fill in those gaps.
And you know, Woody, it costs a lot to train individuals. And so when we're spending our dollars training to keep a person here, we don't want them to leave. And we know that their salaries are a big part of that. And so you don't want to train somebody and then have them go somewhere else where they can make more money.
Absolutely.
So that's
yeah.
an important part of it too.
So apparently we are losing state troopers to North Carolina, to even local jurisdictions because of the pay that they have now.
That's true, but I can't remember when local government has an option of what they get from the state. Then the local government can kick in. That's what we do in Chesapeake. The sheriff, for example, like they kick in, match what the state gives. Some of them do. You see, so if the salary they give, the money they are making, it's not worth it. You see, and I don't know why we have not been keeping up the pace. So even with what we give them now, it's not enough to even catch up. So that's the problem that we're having. That hey, you're giving us this raise, but it's not what we should be compared to other states around us. So everybody leave, get the training, they go find a better job and leave.
Now, what do you think needs to be done in terms of economic development for your district?
Well, right now, the biggest thing for Chesapeake and Norfolk, for what I said, is the transportation gap. The in and out, coming from Newport News to Hampton, that third crossing, that third crossing, talking about the mayor of Norfolk, that third crossing. So we know right now the transportation in and out of Norfolk, that's really important. And with the sea rising, the level rising, the water, we got a problem there. So I think as far as development there, it all starts with exactly how we got to maintain that. What can we do to make Norfolk safe and get in and out? And what can we do to make sure the things that they need? I was saddened to see that the light rail did not go through Virginia Beach. That was one thing that could have helped us out a whole lot in the city of Norfolk. I think Virginia Beach made a mistake on not letting it go through. They got to pay the state that portion of money back. I think it's over $20 million. They got to pay back to the state, you see. So that was very important for us to help the economic development in the city of Norfolk. That we knew that. Now they're looking at the option of maybe going to the base. I believe that's one option they're looking at. So they're trying to look at different things that they can do in the city of Norfolk to attract more business, to bring other people in. Don spoke about the new hotels, and so that's the hub of the Hampton Roads area. So we're trying to attract more business and do more things to get transportation in and out of Norfolk. The toll, we're trying to get the tolls down some because everything comes from Norfolk. So that is what we're trying to do now to help our economic development.
And Delegate Hester, how important is transportation to the Port of Virginia, for example?
Well, it's, you know, if we can't move it out once we bring it in, then, you know, we're messing ourselves up. But thanks to the state and everybody has been very supportive of the ports. The new growth, we're going to have new crane systems put in, and so we're looking forward to that so that we can move more product. We're also going to be dredging additionally so that we can bring the big ships in. But another part of it, too, is the training of our citizens so that they can be prepared for the jobs that are coming, the new jobs, the jobs of the future. That some of us, like me, have no clue how to do. But, you know, cybersecurity is a big thing right now, and filling the gaps there. And so making sure that our citizens are able to take advantage of the training, because we're putting a lot of money into workforce development as well. We want people to be able to move into those jobs to help grow.
Talk to us about workforce development in your district, Delegate Lindsey, please.
Well, primarily, we see it developing with our community colleges and our four-year colleges. What we've got to do is match the pool of workers to the industry that's out there. And a lot of what's going on right now, the institutions of higher learning are catching up. They now appreciate that certification programming and college certificates and college degrees in areas such as cybersecurity, as Don mentioned, areas that match the work pool with industry, and that's more so what we're seeing happening right now to a large measure, both from a standpoint of biomedicine, cybersecurity, industry. All of that is, we got to have a synchronicity, and that's what's developing more so.
And Delegate Heretick, you sit on the Science and Technology Committee. I'm sure that there are a lot of things coming up that will inure themselves to new and exciting, high-paying jobs in the future.
You know, it's really exciting to sit on science and technology, because one of the things we're really looking at is developing aviation and aerospace technology in Virginia. You know, many people don't recognize that at Wallops Island we have one of the great launching bases, launching pads for, outer space exploration in the world. And, we've worked a lot with NASA. We've had some wonderful interactions, some tours, in fact, of the NASA facility at Langley and at Wallops, just to kind of see what they're doing. And really one of the most exciting things that we're seeing from NASA is that they're very aggressively taking students, even from high school, but college, graduate school, bringing them in, working them through internships, sometimes paid internships, to develop, payloads and, similar things to go with space missions. And not only does that help develop future generations of engineers, aerospace and aeronautical engineers, but it really energizes that particular area of the workforce. So it's been a tremendous amount of actual fun to work with them and help them to develop what they're doing in the future.
Senator Spruill, the governor, in his remarks to the General Assembly a number of weeks ago in his State of the Commonwealth address, highlighted cybersecurity as a field that even high school students with proper training and certification can move into jobs that pay as much as $80,000 a year to start.
And that he is surprised that more students in average workers are not going that route. And he was saying that why? That's a different avenue that we have now to get those kind of jobs. But for some reason, the people seem not to be taking advantage of those type of jobs we're having. Don't know what it is, but it's something new for us. And so he put it out there, $80,000 starting off. Oh, of course, that's more than what Don and I make, not these two, but more what Don and I make, so it's a good opportunity we have. So we got to push it out there, let them see what's out there, and go to school, look at these things, what's available to you, take advantage of it, and they're not doing it.
And Delegate Hester, what about dual enrollment? High school students in our community colleges, is that something we should look forward to?
Well, we're doing it now, and I think that we're going to see it expand so that students, in Portsmouth, we had a young lady that when she graduated from high school, she had already completed her first 2 years at Tidewater Community College, and so she went straight into Old Dominion. So those opportunities exist, I think, between our universities and community colleges and high schools. Our public school systems will see more of that taking place, and more specifics geared toward where the child will go or their career choice, so that they will be able to move into those jobs. And cybersecurity is new. As I said earlier, I don't know exactly what it means, but I know it's keeping us safe and has something to do with the internet and the systems out there. But the young people know it.
Yeah.
And so just for them to know that it's a career option for them, and they don't necessarily have to go to college to do that, and they can get into the field earlier, I think is something that we have to continue to promote. But it also goes back to that we're doing a lot with our veterans. And so we know that they are a big part of our workforce. We want to keep them in Virginia when they retire or leave active duty. And so, but that's a big push that we've been making as well. And we've done a lot for our veterans in Virginia.
And Delegate Lindsey, to build on that, talk to us about some of the programs that you have encountered in terms of our community colleges and our institutions of higher learning that deal with our veterans.
Virginia is veteran friendly, and what we're doing is we now have programming that allows veterans to get credit, college credit, for workforce training that they had while in the military, whether it was as a medic, whether it was in some other specialty area. That's very important, because no question that the training you have on the battleground rivals, if not exceeds, that what you would experience in the classroom. We're also developing funding opportunities so that people can afford to go to college, and especially people who've given so much already to the Commonwealth. And in addition, we're looking at helping even children of surviving spouses and children of persons who've lost their life, protecting the Commonwealth's interests, protecting the nation's interests, being able to get an affordable education. All of these things is a part of the giving back for those who've given so much.
So what are some of the community colleges in your district and institutions of higher learning doing in general?
Well, I mean, in the 79th House, we have both Old Dominion University, which I share with Delegate Hester. We have Tidewater Community College. And frankly, as we've alluded to just a moment ago, I think TCC has been not only a state leader, but a national leader in working toward dual enrollment for high school students who are advanced and want to take concurrent college courses. Young man who currently interns with my staff here in the Assembly actually did almost a year and a half's worth of credit with TCC. He's now at ODU, and he's actually finishing this year a semester early. Looking at the curricula that are being developed both by ODU and TCC, it's innovative, it's fresh, it really addresses the market need. I mean, looking at, for example, resiliency, sea level rise. Old Dominion University is going to be the state center for that, together with the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, or VIMS, over in Gloucester. We have healthcare. We have cybersecurity, was alerted to earlier. We have, maritime development, which is very key for, I think, the future of Hampton Roads. So I think between TCC and ODU, you're seeing a lot of very exciting, very innovative educational programs, which really are geared to, the economy of tomorrow.
And we don't want to forget Norfolk State.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, because they're certainly doing their part with cybersecurity and cybersecurity certification.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Spruill, I believe you have some legislation dealing with absentee voting.
Yeah, well, the first one I threw out there, in which they agree with, no excuse voting, anytime, because before I even put it on somebody's desk was dead. But I got two out, I think. It's on the third reading day. I'm hoping that these two will protect it. And one states, let's say you were absentee ballot and you put it in. What happened was they take those and put them in the concealed container in the box, and they wait until that night, and then if they have time to go from there the next day. So let's say, for example, a person will run for office and they lose by 50 votes that night on TV. You lost by 50 votes. The next day they go into this box and open them up, and then you won. So what the registrar asked me to put in, that an option that saying that if we have the time, because they say we have plenty of time, that when they come in, allow us to open those things and feed them in that night. So that means that everything is counted that night instead of waiting on the absentee ballots. That seems to be going well. So on the third reading today in the House, it passed the Senate. The second is that the bill states that all of a sudden you write in something, depending on where you are, either punch a hole and they can't determine. You take a large precinct, let me use a Georgetown precinct, almost 3,000, okay? Then so all of who works in the office get around and make a decision on is it a yes or no. So this states that you take one person from each party of those who's running, a Democrat, Republican, independent, and somebody from the office, the registered office, and they look at it. That way, that won't tie up all the folks. So right now, if you got 13 working in that building, they all got to get together, all 13, and they're going to make a decision on it. We're saying, hey, let one person from each party and one person from who works in the office let us look at it, and they determine the vote. And they said that'll save them a lot of time to tie up everybody on one vote. But the main thing is now that the votes that you're putting in if they have the time, they have the option to say, hey, here it is, and we can count them that night. But no excuse voting, that was put in to keep people from lying. Let me say, okay, but in our case, we don't have to, but you had 3,000 and 4,000 people going to vote early. They said, well, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. So you turn on the back and say, pick one of these, and then you pick something in order for the vote. You may be telling the truth, I'm saying, but when there's a certain time, you say, hey, for the month of October, for example, so forth, no excuse for voting, come in and vote any time. And they kill that. So anything that the other side, they stop me from saying, I'm a senator now, so I can't say Republicans. The other side. So the other side says, no. So I said, wait a minute, look at the bill. But now, my friend here who's on P&E, they take all the bills. Don't even look at them, some of them, just put them together. Because it's coming from a Democrat. Think we want somebody to vote. So I can't understand why we're suppressing the votes in this state and in other states. For other countries, we go fight to get people killed to get enough rights to vote, yet we're suppressing the vote here. So those two, at least they agree, if they make sure today that you absentee ballot sit in, if they have the time, and they get do it that night.
I can tell you, Woody, that I got over 2,000 communications from people talking about wanting redistricting so that it's representative of people's choices for their electeds, as opposed to the electeds' choices for their voters. And it's staggering with the people who are coming up and actually protesting, with the communications that we're receiving. There's no way that message isn't out there, that people are tired of us gerrymandering results. They want a situation where they choose their representative as opposed to their representative choosing them. And the challenge still is that it's got to be a process where we make the opportunity to vote as open and as welcoming as possible. There's a particular piece of legislation that regrettably is making its way through the House that for absentee voting, you need to have your passport, or
Your
copy.
passport.
And I think about how many people don't even have a passport. Just as of one of the forms of identification. So we've got to stop playing games, and we've got to make this a process that's welcoming and opening to those who want to participate in the process.
Well, Delegate Hester, excuse me, that basically starts at home, if you will, in terms of how the House of Delegates deals with subcommittee votes, because as I understand it, they are not recorded, at least formally. And a lot of bills are killed in subcommittee. They never see the light of day. There may be 3 or 4 people there. It may be at 7 a.m. in the morning. There's very little, if any, public participation, so that needs to stop as well, does it not?
Well, yes, it does, Woody, and you just explained that very well. And how we get to that, it is a challenge, and I'm grateful for people making phone calls and sending emails and expressing their thoughts, because for an elected official, it's great to hear from citizens, and the Virginians are letting us know that they want the opportunity to be able to vote. They want a recorded vote. They want to know how people are voting so that they know who they need to contact. And so it's going to be a challenge, but it's one that Democrats are going to continue to push and pursue and help the public to understand so that we can begin to make a change. It's just transparency. People just want to know what we're doing.
And Delegate Heretick, there's been a lot of litigation around gerrymandering over the last few years here in the state of Virginia at the congressional level, and now there's a case still pending before the U.S. Supreme Court about the state districts.
Well, as we've already seen from the federal court, decisions, especially regarding the 3rd Congressional District, there are a lot of district lines which are created for purely gerrymandering purposes, and that is to make sure that, the other side gets a number of safe seats around every Democratic district. And we've seen the same thing before the United States Supreme Court just a few months ago in oral argument, where the court is now taking that up under consideration. We really should be having a decision from the Supreme Court literally any day. But I think most of us who follow the law on this subject are really very expectant that the Supreme Court is going to once again say, look, you can't design districts like this. And I can tell you for me, and I think my colleagues here share it, one of the largest issues of this session, and maybe one of the greatest frustrations, is the fact that we are continuing to try to deal with redistricting reform, because I think all of our constituents expect us to do that. But while both sides really talk a good game about doing that, when it gets to committees that are controlled by the other side, these bills are dying, and they're dying under unrecorded votes, as you pointed out. It's really very frustrating to watch, and I can tell the viewers watching this show, actions speak louder than words. And those folks who are talking about redistricting reform really need to walk the walk in addition to talking the talk, because I think constituents in Virginia really expect us to do something about it.
And Senator Spruill, I'm sure you have an opinion about that, but also wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about a commemorative resolution you have dealing with a former member of the House of Delegates.
First, so you would know, if you look up the dictionary, the other side means Republican. That's what the dictionary says. Well, yes, John Durano, who been in the House, he started out in the House of Delegates, then he went to the Senate, and he lost to, I believe it was Fred Quayle, and came out to the House. And John was a real sharp guy, a lawyer, and he's the person who, he has his opinion, and once he agreed to it, nobody could change his mind. And some folks, well, he went too far this way and too far that way. But if he really believed in something, that's the main thing. If he really believed in what he was doing. And he was a friend to me, especially when I had a personal problem. And I hired him as my lawyer. We didn't take no money for it, you see. And I sure couldn't afford to pay him for it. But he's the guy who was truly a friend to all of us on both sides of the aisle, on both houses. And so the resolution that most everybody signed was in the House and in the Senate that would be given to his family. So we truly be missed, and he was a really nice person.
Delegate Hester, we've got about a minute and a half left. Wanted you to talk to the question of the prescription opioid problem that is confronting the Commonwealth, not only Virginia, but the entire nation.
And it's terrible. It's impacting families, and we're losing lives of individuals. It comes from oftentimes taking prescription medicine, and then you become addicted. And I'm grateful that we're doing things to try to help families, but it's getting on the front end and working with our docs and reducing the prescriptions that we're providing to others. So we have a long way to go with that.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here. Senator Lionel Spruill, Delegate Don Hester, Delegate Joe Lindsey, and Delegate Steve Heretick. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Cox Communications. Until next time, I'm Woody Evans. Mm-hmm.